And today I'm with Brenda, who's another fantastic guest who I'm really excited for you all to meet. Hello, Brenda. Brenda has many talents. She's a mindfulness coach. She's a mental health motivational speaker. She's a comedian, which we're going to hear more about through this interview. And I think a super cool recent success of hers, she became a semi-finalist for 2020 in Miss California, USA. So Brenda, thank you and welcome. Please tell us more about yourself and your background.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Let's see. So as I said, I'm a mindfulness coach. I have my own business called Sweet Thoughts Travel. And yeah, I have practical tools that will help people with anxiety and depression and ADHD management and self-esteem. I always talk about what a wild banshee I am. And I love it. I think it's my superpower. I have unlimited energy. It allows me to do all the things I do. I'm a comedian. I play piano. I sing. I give mental health speakings, and I love it. I love everything that I do. And I feel like I was put on this earth to help people and to raise the vibration and let them know I am no different than you guys, like at all. I may have all these accolades, but I'm just like you.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely no difference.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Brenda. But tell us, what does mental health mean to you, and why is it something that people should do more about?
Working on my mental health saved my life. It's what's made me, I feel, successful in what I do now, and it's what's keeping me going. Some people may look at me and go, this girl's so bubbly, she's so optimistic, like what has she gone through? Life hasn't gotten her down, but it couldn't be further than the truth. I was smuggled into this country when I was 1 year old by a coyote. My mom tossed me over the border and was like, hey, hope I see my daughter again. It was wrapped up like a little burrito. And so I was raised by immigrant parents who were teenagers also at the time. So imagine that, coming to a new country as a teenager, and you have a baby and you have $0 in your pocket, and you're undocumented. So imagine having that. That's what I lived through growing up. I feared being deported for the majority of my life. I became a U.S. citizen in 2018. I mean, that was just 2 years ago. But yeah, growing up, my family, thank God we had what we needed, as far as roof over head and food, but we struggled very much. And again, mental health ran in my family, where depression ran, anxiety ran, and other mental health stuff that in our Latino community, especially my household, Mexican household, there was no talk of that, Like I was saying, as long as you have your needs of having a roof over your head and food, then you stop talking and you just deal with it, But I didn't stop talking. I couldn't stop. Mind you, that was also my ADHD that wasn't diagnosed. but I would always talk about it. I would talk to counselors. I would talk to teachers, and I would let them know how I was feeling. I needed to know that my reality was validated, because I began to experience depression when I was a teenager, and I didn't know what it was. Again, at home it wasn't validated, but at school they were letting me know, hey, this is what you're experiencing. And then following depression, I started to experience anxiety, and all of a sudden I started to have anxiety attacks, and I'm like, what is this? I feel like I'm going to die every time. What is this, right? And after these panic attacks, it was just this spiraling that led me into therapy when I was around 19 or 20. And I officially began to see a therapist. And when I began to talk to her, I started to uncover just so much more trauma from my childhood. And in that process, I was able to work on creating better and positive coping skills changing my behavior patterns. I was able to not be a victim to my childhood. I was able to empower myself and realize that I can break the cycle. You know, just because I had this chaotic upbringing doesn't mean that I have to repeat that, or that there is no future for me, or that I can't be successful, that I can't live my best life and dream life. That's not true. And so therapy has helped me so much in realizing my true power, coming into my power. And not only that, but, you know, helping others come into their power. And for me, mental health is equally as important as physical health, because there is no difference. It's absolutely no difference. You know, when if somebody has diabetes, you know, you're like, okay, did you take your pill, you know, or did you check your blood pressure? You know, if someone gets a cold, it's like, oh, did you take Dayquil? Did you take your NyQuil? You know, it's so common to hear that. But if you say, hey, I have depression, oh, all of a sudden, why? No, not at all. Not at all. It should be like, okay, awesome. Have you talked to your doctor? You know, have you tried these exercises? Cool. So you're going to get on meds? Awesome. What type of medicine are you on? Cool. Is it working for you? No? Cool. Find your balance. Let's work on it together. You know, but it should not be a stigma. There's absolutely no difference. And yeah, so for me, mental health is incredibly important and something that I'm very passionate about. And I can't wait. I can't wait to keep telling the world about it.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with our audience, Brenda. And I think it's really, really important and special that you've had such a positive approach to it as well. I think that's one of the key ways to battle it and to create a position of great mental health, or mental fitness, as I like to call it. Are there any things you would be comfortable sharing with our audience today about how bad it really got, and then I guess what was key to getting out of that point? Were there any sort of turning points, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. This, I would say, the worst of the worst of the worst was 2 years ago. Hold on. 2 years ago, and then last year. 2 years ago, I was in a very long-term relationship. My then partner had cheated on me with a man that he found on Craigslist, and it's part of my comedy routine. It's all real, you know. It's but that was, and as much as I make fun of it because it's so healing, you know, it was also very real and traumatic at the time. And so I had been with this person for about 6 years at the time. And so, you know, this person was my everything. This person was my superhero. And then to have discovered this infidelity really sent me into this spiral and of like, what am I doing wrong? Like, am I not good enough? But then for a second, I switched and thought, okay, clearly this has nothing to do with me. Let's see if we can work this out. And so we went to couples therapy, and I really tried, but it just wasn't going to work. And all of a sudden, this whole foundation of stability that was my life for 6 years was crumbling down, you know, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, my life has to change. Not only that, but at this time, I had gotten injured at work. So I had to go on workman's comp. So imagine that, having to be going on medical leave. My boyfriend, who I'm living with, had just cheated on me with a guy he found on Craigslist. I'm in physical pain. I'm in emotional pain. I am like, I can't live here. We have to break up. How am I going to move? I have no income coming in. What is going on? I mean, so what I naturally did though was dive so deep into work and creating my business. And I thought, you know what? This is it. This is my ticket. I have to build my business. I have to get out. And so as I did that, as much positive came out of it, also came out of it was the burnout that happened afterwards, because I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was running myself to the ground, trying to, again, build so much stability, rebuild the stability, but for myself now, which was incredibly scary because I had not done that in, 6+ years. He became my stability, right? So, I had to recreate myself. And who was I? I didn't even know. It's like, well, who is the Brenda outside this relationship? And so as all this was going on, fast forward, I want to say like 11 months after this whole thing happened, we were still living together. Oh my God, because I couldn't move out. And living with your ex, it's not like the best situation. So as I was moving out, I had still not moved out yet, I found out that he was also lying to me behind my back, saying that, oh, we're gonna be together. It's okay. Like, there's no one else. I love you, and I was super vulnerable at this time. I'm like, oh my God, we could totally make this work. Oh my God, totally. Right. It's just like, so like not permanent. And, but no, that again, I was just very vulnerable. I didn't want to accept my reality. And so during this time, I had found out that he was lying and he was seeing someone already. And I found out by walking in to my former apartment, trying to still collect my stuff. And she was on the couch and I'm like, who is this? And I talk about this in my stand-up too. And this led into this whole, what's going on? Oh my gosh, again, my reality came crashing to me and going, this is what's really going on. You're about to be on your own, Brenda. You're about to move into your own apartment, live by yourself for the first time in your life, like with no roommates or anything, like by yourself. Your relationship of almost now 7 years has ended. You are a full-time entrepreneur. You don't have stable income. And yeah, like, so what happened was this incident, this altercation happened that night with him. And I ended up going to the hospital, and it wasn't on purpose. Like, he didn't hurt me on purpose or anything. It was just scuffling for keys and I accidentally got cut. And so that whole thing was so traumatic that 2 days later, I called a crisis hotline and I was like, I'm not okay. Like, this is going on. I'm very scared because I live now on my own, and I'm calling my girlfriends and they're there for me, but I'm not okay right now. Like, this is, I'm having a really hard time coping with this. So the crisis hotline said, go to a hospital. We need to make sure you're okay. Do you have a therapist? And I said, I do. And they go, okay, tell your therapist. And then we're going to stay on the line with you until you have a friend come and pick you up and take you to the hospital. So that happened. I get to the hospital and I just lose it. I'm like, my life is over. Oh my God, that girl took my life. I am, this is not okay. Like, I'm just losing it. And they give me 2 lorazepams. Lorazepam's an anti-anxiety medicine, right? Because I couldn't calm down. And all of a sudden, the psychiatrist comes over and she goes, hey, I have a question for you. Do you want to harm yourself? I go, no. And she goes, okay, do you want to kill yourself? I go, no. And she goes, okay, so then why are you here? And I'm like, I just want to spend the night. She's like, at a hospital? I'm like, yes. She goes, why? I'm like, because I want to be taken care of. All of a sudden, the medicine's just like, woo, 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 woo. She's like, okay, well, the only way you can spend the night here is if you admit yourself. I'm like, well, duh, that's what I'm here for. Where do I sign? I signed paperwork and I blacked out The next thing I know, I'm waking up to this alarm at 7 in the morning going, doo-doo-doo, good morning. Please make your way to the cafeteria. Your breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. And I'm like, where am I? I'm on a bed that's the size of a brick. I'm in a room with no windows. And I'm like, what is going on? I go outside and I go to a nurse and I go, excuse me, where am I? And she goes, good morning. Hi. Here's your breakfast. You're on a 5150. I'm like, what? She's like, you're in the intense suicide ward. You're here for 72 hours. Here's your breakfast. I'm like, no, guys, like, I'm just heartbroken. Like, I'm just heartbroken. Like, this is just heartbreak. Like, I'm not crazy. You know, I'm not crazy. And they're like, right. Okay, here you go. I'm like, no, guys, like, you don't understand. Like, I'm a mental health advocate. Like, I'm a mindfulness coach. I have my own business. Like, I do a lot of charity work. Like, I'm in the public eye. They're like, sure you are. Okay, here you go. Bye-bye. And I couldn't leave for 72 hours. I was in a psych ward. I disappeared off the face of the earth. And I called my best friends, and they, because I was able to have phone privileges that way. And they were so amazing, and they were so comforting. And in that time, though, I was like, I don't belong here. Like, this is all a mistake. But now looking back, that place saved my life. That place was the thing that helped me actually now, deal with what was going on that I was running away from. It provided the safe space that I needed to really express myself. And the nurses were so caring. The doctors were so nurturing, and they didn't make me feel crazy. They actually made me feel like a human being that was going through an incredibly traumatic situation, who had been going through a traumatic situation, and I was in hardcore survival mode for the longest time. And I was finally able to rest and be taken care of. So
Amazing. Wow. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that. It's a tough thing to go through, and it can be, a lot of people become reclusive with these things. They don't open up, and they bottle it in. And I think it's amazing that you're able to share that, to help raise awareness on a number of fronts, actually. Wow. Thank you, Brenda. It's really fantastic.
Thank you for allowing the safe space for me to share that.
Yeah, no, it's a privilege for us. Thank you. Well, with all of that in mind, and the journey I know that you've been on since, and Mount Shasta will be an interesting one to talk about. Would you perhaps share some of your top 3 tips for anyone listening, and how they can ensure they have as healthy mind as possible? Your best practice tips.
Absolutely. So I just got back from Mount Shasta, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. It helped me heal so much and come into more of my power. And so what I did on this trip that I would say are tips for others is breathe. Breathing exercises were huge. And I always talk about breathing exercises in my mindfulness coaching. I have worksheets that help you and guide you through how to do these breathing exercises. A simple one for anyone watching this right now is breathe in for 4 seconds. Inhale deeply, and then exhale through the mouth for about 7 seconds. Repeat that about 3 times. Simple breathing exercise you can do right now. Another one is a short meditation. And the reason why I say short meditation is because it's hard to get into meditation at first. Trying to quiet the mind, you're like, how do I even do this? My mind is racing even more as I'm trying to quiet it. So I always say baby steps. start with a few minutes of a meditation, and just try and allow your thoughts to come in and out versus resisting them. Trying not to think about something, because the more you try not to, the more you resist it, the harder it comes. The more it overpowers your mind. So another one is be with your thoughts. Allow them. Pardon me, the camera's weird. The third tip would be journal. I love journaling. And sometimes when I mention that, people will go, oh, what? Like, just like write on a piece of paper. Like, how is that going to help? It actually helps so much. Putting your thoughts on concrete, paper in front of you, because it helps you see. It helps you see them versus just having them go, run amok in your brain. You are able to read them. You're able to process them in a different way. And a lot of the times that's so healing. And once you acknowledge them, then you're able to move past them. And that's so much with anything in life, especially mental health. When you bring awareness to what's causing you distress and you acknowledge it and you try and understand it, that's when change happens. That's when you can move forward. So my top 3 tips would be breathing exercises, allowing your thoughts to come in and go with short meditations, and journaling.
Yeah, fantastic. Really good tips. Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
So a lot of the people in our audience, our global community, a lot of them are really hard-working adults. Many are business leaders in larger organizations with responsibility for a number of employees that they take under their wing and they look after. So thinking of that kind of wide audience, and particularly employers who are managing large workforces through this really uncertain time as well of coronavirus, or corona crisis, as I tend to call it. What advice can you give to others that have that responsibility for others? How can they support strong and positive messages around being open about mental health, and how people can create great mental health for themselves and those around them?
Perfect. Thank you for asking me this, because this just reminded me of a 4th tip I have. And this is I would say, even though I just said it's the 4th tip, I actually think it's the number 1 tip that I always preach about on my social media platforms and just anywhere. And that's kindness. Be kind. Be empathetic. Be a listening ear. That is medicine for so many people. Hold space for them. Approach these things with loving eyes and kindness. Again, I don't want to say it's in short supply, because I always love to see everything with glass half full, always. But we definitely need it now more than ever. We need that, hey, I'm here for you, type of approach. So for those leaders who, like you said, have employees, please be kind to them, understand them. And that's everything, though. That's everything in life, that connection, that empathetic, hey, I understand what you're going through and I'm here for you. I can't stress that enough.
Very good. Again, fantastic advice. Thank you, Brenda. Putting the spotlight back on yourself, what advice would you give to Brenda 10 years ago? What would you advise her to do differently with what you know now?
Oh man, what advice would I give myself? Stop worrying so damn much. Stop worrying so much. Your quirkiness, your humor is your ability to move past situations using humor is going to be a huge asset to you as you're older, and you're going to be able to heal a lot of people too, and heal yourself. So don't worry so much about, not fitting in so much.
Yeah, brilliant. Very good,
So
thank you. Very good
embrace
advice. Very good
Yeah.
advice. I think 10 years younger Brenda would really appreciate that advice. Now, final question actually for you today, Brenda. Again, thinking about our audience, our listeners, our watchers, what advice would you give to anyone watching now who perhaps is concerned about their mental health right now, or their mental health of a colleague, a teammate, or even a friend or family member? What would be what do they need to do next? What's the call to action?
Okay. So if it's about themselves, just know you're not alone. Okay? You are not alone. We are all in this together. We are all one. And people love you. People are there for you. You may not even realize it or want to acknowledge that, or, because I've been there where I'm like, what? No, I don't matter. But no, it's true. Like, there's people that you don't even know that love you, and you matter very much. And everyone matters. And when it comes to family members or friends who are, having a hard time coping with their mental health right now, which is completely normal and understandable, have patience, understanding, be kind, please be kind, and offer that listening ear, offer that helping hand. And I know it can get really hard, because I've had my bouts of depression, and I've gone through the times where I push people away and they want to help and they want to be there for me. And they're like, hey, I'm here, and I don't want to deal with them. And that's when I'm in my deep depths of depression. And I've had that done to me too. When my friends go through depressions, and I'm like, no, you have, I can't let them go into that dark hole. I have to be there. And then they push me even harder away. So for anyone who's going through that, it's also important though to give them space. Just as long as they know that you're there, that helps very much, because I know with me in my depression, when I've gone through my depression, as long as I knew that my friends were there and that I could call them or text them, that was awesome. And a lot of them would send me like little memes here and there, and it wasn't and that was their way of checking up on me, just like, hey, thought this was hilarious. And I was like, oh yeah, this is funny. And it wasn't centered around, how are you today? Are you in your deepest lows? Blah, blah, blah. It was just like a ding, hey, hope you're good. And that helps so much.
Yeah. Fantastic. You've got some great friends there, Brenda, and it's definitely important to have lots of those for all of us. I said it would be the last question, but I'm gonna ask you one more.
Keep them coming.
I think we've got a great opportunity, because obviously one of your super talents is you're a great comedian. How do you feel about sharing one of your best comic jokes with us right now?
Oh my gosh. As comics, when we're put on the spot like this, we're like, how do we do it? I mean, I'm trying to see. I mean, when people talk about, when I talk about my ADHD and how I have unlimited energy, people are like, how do you sleep? Like, what makes you sleep? Because I always say I'm a night owl too. I'm like, well, the thing that, has turned me into a morning person is my Ambien. Like, that's what turns me into a morning person. And so I joke a lot about mental health and how crazy I am, but I'm trying to think of like another, like, just on the spot joke. I'm trying. I'm gonna have to rain check. I'm sorry, I'm trying.
Well, no, I did put you on the spot with that one, so it was a little bit cheeky of me. So we will absolutely forgive you. And okay. You've been so great with your time and your wisdom and sharing your experiences, Brenda. So thank you very much. For anyone who would love to connect with Brenda, to follow her travels, to learn more about her other successes as a mental health speaker and as a mindfulness coach, for example, we will post all of the links, social media profiles in the description below this video. So don't forget to read up on that. And if you've liked what you've heard from Brenda today, and if you haven't subscribed to the Darryl Woodhouse channel yet, don't forget to do that now. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell next to it as well, so you don't miss out on future amazing videos from inspiring people like Brenda. Thank you so much, Brenda, and we'll speak to you again. We'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah.